Let me show you guys something that most travelers never realize. Two people can book the same exact Caribbean cruise for summer in 2026 on the same trip with the same itinerary and the same cabin type, and one of them almost always pays double. Not because of luck, not because of the timing mistakes, but because of how cruising pricing actually works. In this video, we're breaking down the top Caribbean cruise deals for summer 2026, including the real-world pricing ranges, cruise line comparisons, hidden value differences, and exact booking strategies that experienced travelers use to completely avoid overpaying. And we're also going to explain something that most cruise websites don't explain clearly. Some of the cheapest looking cruises are actually not the best value once you understand the full cost structure. So quick question before we get started. Are you someone who books cruises early for peace of mind or waits for the last minute cruise deals and the price drops? Comment early or last minute right below. We read every comment and we'll respond to you guys. And make sure you stay till the end, because we'll show you the pricing pattern for Caribbean cruises in 2026 that can unlock surprise discount windows that most travelers completely miss. So let's get started and start with the most common Caribbean cruise option. Short 3 to 4 day Bahamas cruises from Florida ports like Miami and Port Canaveral. These are offered by major cruise lines like Carnival Cruise Line and Royal Caribbean. Now here is the real 2026 pricing reality based on the current cruise market trends. Real quick guys, if you've ever traveled somewhere hot, you already know staying hydrated can make or break your entire trip. That's why one travel essential we always bring with us is VenturePal electrolytes. Whether we're exploring beaches, walking cities all day, or just on the go, these help us stay energized, refreshed, as well as actually enjoy our trip without feeling drained. They're made with zero sugar, loaded with vital electrolytes, and have a bright, refreshing flavor that honestly feels like a natural, energizing lemonade. And we're not the only ones. VenturePal has over 10.5 million customers, 16 million units sold, as well as a 97% 5-star rating online. They've been featured in Forbes and Women's Health. There's a reason why it's trusted and why it works both daily as well as while traveling. So if you guys want to try it for yourself, you can use code TRAVELERS to get 15% off at the VenturePal website, linked in the description below. And we're also doing a VenturePal giveaway. 2 winners will each receive one product. All you have to do is follow the Castaway Travelers YouTube channel, follow VenturePal's YouTube channel, and drop an emoji in the comments. Super simple and definitely worth it if you travel as much as we do. Now let's get back into it. Interior cabins typically range from around $200 to $450 per person during those promotional windows. Ocean view cabins can often fall between $350 to $650 per person. And balcony cabins can range from $600 up to around $1,200 depending on demand as well as the sailing date. These cruises often include stops in the Bahamas and some private cruise line islands. And on the surface, this looks like one of the cheapest Caribbean vacation options available in 2026. But here's why most travelers get caught off guard. Here's that first reality check. The advertised cruise fare is not your full vacation cost. Once you guys end up adding in those expenses like drinks, excursions, gratuities, Wi-Fi, as well as specialty dining, the total trip cost can increase significantly. So while this looks like a budget Caribbean cruise deal, it often becomes a mid-range total cost vacation depending on how you travel on board. So let's cover some of the smart traveler strategies to make this completely simpler. Look for those midweek sailings, flexible guarantee cabins, and monitor the pricing after your booking because cruise fares can drop even after purchase on some of those sailings. But before we go any further, if you guys are planning Caribbean cruise vacation 2026, we've linked discounted travel tools in the description below. That includes platforms like Cheap Caribbean, Skyscanner, and Hotels.com, as well as others. These are commonly used booking tools that often show the competitive pricing for cruise bundles, flights, and resort packages depending on availability. Check out those affiliate links below. So now let's talk about one of the most interesting cruise pricing models in the Caribbean market. Number 4 on our list is going to be MSC Cruises, which is going to be a low entry price and that value structure. So now let's talk about one of the most interesting cruise pricing models in the Caribbean market, MSC Cruises. MSC often advertises some of the lowest base fares for Caribbean cruises in 2026. Interior cabins can sometimes appear as low as $200 to $400 per person during those promotional periods. Balcony cabins typically range from $500 to $900 depending on your itinerary as well as your ship. And MSC itineraries typically include Ocean Cay Marine Reserve, Cozumel, as well as Nassau. And at first glance, this completely looks like the cheapest cruise option available. But here is the most important version that most travelers miss. Reality check number 2, which is going to be that MSC's low base fare does not always reflect the total vacation cost. I'm going to repeat that one once more. MSC's low base fare does not always reflect the total vacation cost. Many of the services are modular, meaning that extras like the drink packages, the Wi-Fi, and the specialty dining are separate add-ons. So while MSC might be one of the cheapest entry points into Caribbean cruising, your final cost depends heavily on how you build your onboard experience. A quick heads up guys, if you've ever felt completely drained halfway through your travel day, This is probably exactly what you're missing. Staying hydrated isn't just important, it directly impacts your energy, your focus, as well as how much you actually enjoy your trips. We always bring VenturePal electrolytes with us on all of our stays, especially in hot destinations, and the difference is completely noticeable almost immediately. And if you're curious to try it for your next trip, check out the link in the video description below and use code TRAVELERS. It's one of the simplest travel upgrades that can completely change your experience. Check out VenturePal. Something to take note of. Next, let's move on to Norwegian Cruise Line, which offers that flexible value model. Now we move on to a mid-tier cruise category that actually behaves a little bit different than the others. NCL pricing in summer 2026 typically ranges like this. Interior cabins are often $350 to $700 per person. Balcony cabins usually range from $750 to $1,400 per person, depending on the timing as well as the ship. NCL sails to destinations like Dominican Republic, St. Thomas, Tortola, as well as private islands such as the Great Stirrup Cay. But here's what makes NCL a little bit different. One key important insight is that NCL is not designed to be the cheapest cruise line. It is designed to be a flexible value system where promotions change what's included. Sometimes you guys get the drink packages, sometimes you get dining credits, sometimes those onboard credits replace the traditional inclusions. So two travelers can completely pay the same price and receive completely different value depending on the promotion that they booked. Number 2 on our list is going to be Royal Caribbean, which gives you guys that experience value premium. Now we enter one of the most in-demand cruise brands in the world, Royal Caribbean. And this is where that pricing shifts from cheap vacation to experience-driven travel. Typical 2026 pricing ranges are: interior cabins around $400 to $800 per person. Balcony cabins often range from $800 to $15, depending on the ship class as well as the demand. And Royal Caribbean sailings often include Coco Cay Private Island, as well as multiple Caribbean ports. But here's the key that most people tend to misunderstand. The inversion moment that we have is that Royal Caribbean is rarely the cheapest option, but it's often one of the highest perceived cruise experiences per day because of the entertainment, the ship size, and the destination design. So you're not just paying for transportation to and from somewhere, you're paying for the onboard experience density. And moving on to number 1 on our list, that's going to be an East Coast departure strategy, which also includes a hidden savings model. So now let's talk about something that most travelers completely overlook: the East Coast departure cruises from ports like Baltimore and other nearby regional terminals. These cruises typically use mid-sized ships and offer Caribbean itineraries without requiring airfare for many East Coast travelers. And pricing generally ranges from about $450 to $800 for interior cabins and $800 to $1,400 for balcony cabins, depending on the itinerary as well as the season. So here's the final inversion, and this is completely important for your cruising. These cruises are not always the cheapest upfront option, but they can be the lowest total vacation cost option once you factor in the airfare savings. And that is where experienced travelers consistently end up winning. So now let's jump into a major discount strategy. Now here's something that most travelers don't tend to realize. Caribbean cruise pricing is completely dynamic. It moves based on demand, inventory, and those booking windows. And there are specific periods in 2026 where cruise fares temporarily drop due to unsold cabin inventory as well as the promotional cycles. And these windows are not always widely advertised, but when they appear, you want to jump on that opportunity. They can create significant savings compared to standard pricing. We've linked some discounted travel tools in the description below, including Cheap Caribbean and other booking platforms that we use to track cruise and vacation pricing. So here's the real takeaway and the final strategy. Cruise pricing is not fixed. It changes dramatically and it changes constantly. Smart travelers track prices after booking, compare multiple sailing dates, avoid peak demand booking spikes, and monitor repricing opportunities when available. This is how experienced cruise travelers consistently save money on the same exact itineraries. So here's the recap and the breakdown. Short Bahamas cruises offer entry-level pricing, but hidden add-on costs. MSC Cruises offers the lowest base fares, but modular pricing structure. Norwegian Cruise Line offers flexible value depending on promotions. Royal Caribbean delivers experience-heavy premium value, and the East Coast departures can completely reduce total trip costs through airfare elimination if you're in the area. And final question for us, if you guys could book one Caribbean cruise for the summer in 2026 right now, which would you end up choosing? Budget, value, or experience? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure you guys subscribe to the Castaway Travelers because we're breaking down new affordable ways to travel every single week. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep traveling.